Tesla stock is going to $2,600 per share, according to ARK Invest. And how are they reacting to this earnings call and report? A lot of emphasis was put on Tesla bots. Tesla says first-generation production lines for Optimus are now being installed in anticipation of volume production. And then there are other businesses that ARK Invest completely ignores and doesn't even include in their valuation model. For example, Tesla Energy gross margin hit a new all-time high of 31.4% in Q3, up from the previous all-time high. And of course, ARK Invest mostly is so bullish about Tesla stock because of full self-driving. And you can clearly see that Tesla is making very good progress with FSD deployments, and how many miles people are driving on FSD is increasing constantly. And this was actually a huge jump from the previous quarter. And we are about to get V14. And that, from everything I've seen, is significantly better than V13. It just needs to be polished a little bit, but that's just a matter of time before it happens. And once that happens, this chart is going to go through the roof again. And what's crazy about Hardware 5 is Elon said that by some metrics, it will be 40 times better than AI 4. And we know that Tesla says that FSD total paid customer base is still only 12% of our fleet. And I assume this is only in the markets where Tesla FSD is available. So this is not the global fleet number, I believe. But Elon is putting so much emphasis on the Tesla bot. And ARK Invest reacted to Tesla's earnings about the Tesla bot here specifically. Brett Winton from ARK Invest says the human robot challenge is 1,000 to 10,000 times more difficult than Robotaxi. This implies a commercialization ramp in 2030 to 2032. If you limit yourself to 1/10 the ultimately addressable tasks and can achieve that with relatively primitive lower body nuance, 2029 could be the beginning of the commercial ramp. And on Optimus, Elon said, the new hand is an incredible piece of engineering. We will have a production intent prototype ready to show off in February or March next year. We're going to be building a 1 million unit production line with hopefully a production start end of 2026. Then we will do Optimus 4 at 10 million units. Elon Musk is not playing around at all with this one. And he is about to get his compensation package, which will pay him $1 trillion to be successful. And he only gets paid if he succeeds. But ARK Invest is basically reacting to this, saying that it is going to be a lot more difficult than the autonomy problem. And look, the FSD problem to some people already appeared to be impossible, and yet Elon Musk is about to completely solve it. If the Optimus problem is an even harder problem, who else do you think is better than Elon Musk? I think nobody. Elon Musk is by far the #1 person in the world to solve this problem and to do this job. And also with ARK Invest implying that commercialization is not really going to happen until 2029, and knowing that their price target for $2,600, that is for 2029, it is safe to say that ARK Invest is definitely not including any value from the Tesla Optimus bot in their price target, meaning the moment it is very, very clear that Tesla is actually going to do big things with the Optimus bot, ARK Invest price target is going to further increase and explode again. Now, looking at Analyst, we are seeing increases in Tesla stock price targets. For example, Cantor here raised his price target from $355 to $510. Mizuho Securities increased their price target to $485 up from $450. ARK Invest, of course, is sticking to their price target of $2,600. And then Ives says that the stock is about to double in the next 1 year or 18 months or so. Take a listen.
This is going to be a golden chapter for Tesla. In terms of autonomous and robotics, the AI roadmap, that's why you own the stock. That's why I think this thing ultimately is a double, over the next 12 to 18 months. As it plays out, Robotaxi scales and autonomous, it's going to be the best, ultimately when it comes to consumer, best application out there.
V14 supposedly is now going sort of wide. Sawyer posted that on X earlier. And just having access to V13 really on a Hardware 4 vehicle, it is really difficult to look at the progress that Tesla is making right now and to think that Tesla is not going to solve this problem completely and not have robotaxis in every single major city in the US, and that FSD is not going to be not just as safe as human driving, but much safer than human driving. And if you conclude that indeed Tesla is going to solve full self-driving, make it safer than human driving, deploy all of these robotaxis in every single major city in the US and Canada, the only really outcome of that is Tesla stock exploding, insanely exploding.
Okay, Dan, break this down for me, explain this to me. How do they make money from Autonomous? Because right now they own all the robotaxis, right? So they're making whatever small service revenue there is from those cars. But then ultimately, what does that profitability picture look like? And again, when can investors expect it?
Mhm. Yeah, look, and obviously when, right? Like that's the big question. Look, I think first, if you focus just on 1 year out, from Nvidia to Microsoft to Apple, I mean, we go to every tech company out there. I think you've missed that transformational move, right? For Tesla, you gotta look out 2 or 3 years, and ultimately, look, it's can you get to 500,000, a million vehicles out there? That essentially, it's going to be a cyber cab. It's going to be a robo-taxi network.
The answer to that question is yes, absolutely. Tesla can do that. And not only that, Tesla can make a lot more of these robot taxis. And then the next thing is going to be the robots, the Tesla bot. And while Tesla was having great success with EVs, Elon Musk already decided to focus on full self-driving. And now we are going to see fruits of that decision. And we are going through a similar thing here where FSD is now, that's becoming a lot more obvious, and that's becoming really quite obvious to even to someone from Wall Street. But the bot, that is not obvious at all to the Wall Street crowd yet. But to Elon Musk, it already is, and that's where he is going to spend a lot of his time and effort later. So I think we are going through another moment in time like that where Elon Musk has decided already he is going to focus on solving this problem, and he will see to it until it is fully solved. And the compensation package ensures that he is motivated and that he will focus on that problem long enough for it to be solved, even if it takes longer than expected.
Right, but do they own that network, or does someone else own that network? And like, what's the profitability of that network? Because a robotaxi, at least it's my understanding, is not a cheap thing to run, right?
Mhm. Look, they're going to own that network. I mean, like, right, it speaks to what I view as probably the biggest competitive threat to an Uber. You know, if you look out over the years, what Tesla's going to do here. And remember, there's going to be their own network. And then if me or you, if we have a Tesla and we're at work, we could ultimately put that Tesla into the network. So while we're at work, it's actually giving rides out, right? And then ultimately, that speaks to the broader effect that's going to happen here is that this is laying out what's going to be this biggest chapter of growth ever. So you can look at over the next 1, 2 years what earnings looks like. I could argue there could be growth power 12, 15, $20 earnings when you look out. And that's why I think this is a stock that should be green today, not red.
Well, and will you look at this? Tesla stock actually today, it is up 2.28%. It is green, and the market agrees with Dan Ives that Tesla stock should be up. It is quite interesting, though, that Tesla stock in the after hours yesterday, after the earnings report and the earnings call, in the after hours, it was down a few percent, but today it is up. So maybe people and investors, they took some time and they thought about it. And basically, what I'm seeing here is that indeed, the market is starting to really agree that Tesla got this. They will solve full self-driving. And on top of that, maybe they are starting to price just a tiny possibility of Tesla actually making a significant amount of money from the Tesla bot in the long term.
There's a lot that has to go right between now and then. The other thing that has to go right is the Optimus robots, which Musk talks about. But again, like, who's the customers for these robots? I've talked to robot people who say the real applications are not going to be in humanoid robots at all. They'll be in other functional robots.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think first on the factory side, that's clearly going to be an application when it comes to on the robotic side. But the biggest thing is going to be on the consumer. I mean, it's our view, and we're not talking 10 years now, we're talking like 2, 3 years, that like it's going to become commonplace to have robots in houses. And I think that's the important thing. That's what Tesla's going after.
Dan, for what? What are these robots in our houses going to be do? In 2 to 3 years, you're telling me you're going to have an Optimus in your house. What is it going to
do? And again, that is my view. Like, it will be doing the wash. It could be taking the dog out. In other words, like, it's going to be doing functions that in a house, these are going to become more and more commonplace over the next decade. And Tesla's going to own that robotics vision as well as the autonomous vision. That's why you're paying Musk $1 trillion in terms of, if he hits all the goals. That's why Musk is the most important asset for Tesla. It's the future. And what I view as a physical AI play, there's NVIDIA and then there's Tesla.
And Ives actually gets this. This is exactly why you pay Elon Musk $1 trillion. It's because he's the absolute best person to solve this problem. And he already has a track record of solving impossible problems, electrifying the entire automobile industry, getting us to move towards that direction. And clearly we are heading completely towards that direction only in the long term. And then, of course, launching rockets into space, that was completely impossible. And then solving full self-driving, that looked completely impossible, and now everyone agrees that this is just a matter of time. It's inevitable. It's, when I started this YouTube channel a few years ago, when I said, "Oh, Tesla is going to solve full self driving," that is obvious, that is inevitable. It's just a matter of time. People looked at me and said, "I'm crazy." Now I say the same thing, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, Tesla will. It just when exactly when? Like, is it going to be this year, next year, a year after?" The only question is now when, not will Tesla solve full self-driving. Now it's just when. But to me personally, you see, it was always a question of just when exactly. And it was never a question of will Tesla solve full self-driving. No, it was so obvious. If you just go back and you think about the data advantage that Tesla had and Tesla having access to Elon Musk, it's so obvious. And you know what else is obvious to me at this moment? There's no one better in the world to deploy something like Tesla bots profitably. I don't think there's anyone else better than Elon Musk to solve that sort of problem for Tesla in the future. And that opportunity is even bigger than EVs, even bigger than all of autonomy combined. And I think Elon Musk certainly deserves $1 trillion if he can solve these problems.
And just quickly, Dan, you're predicting that he'll get approval for that pay package?
Oh yeah, I think that's going to overwhelmingly be improved because look, it just comes down to he is the only one that could lead Tesla into this chapter, and everyone understands as an investor, you need Musk, wartime CEO, locked in, set the high bar relative to the targets. Look at the last one; he hit all of them.
The only way that Elon Musk gets paid a lot of money from that compensation package is if he does the impossible. Literally, he has to achieve these crazy goals of Tesla's market cap going up bonkers, of Tesla's earnings going bonkers. The only somewhat easy thing is the 20 million vehicles delivered in total, because Tesla is on the path to deliver these anyway. That's the only thing where I could say, okay, maybe that's somewhat easy or not too difficult. But if you have anyone else in place to try and achieve that goal, who is to say that Tesla's market cap would not drop like a stone? I really don't think if we install a different CEO that the market wouldn't go like, you know what, you're not Elon Musk, you don't have a track record of doing the impossible, so you know what we will do? We will sell the stock because we don't think you can do the impossible. You can maybe commercialize things that obviously we can deploy that have already been proven to be successful, but will you solve the Tesla bot problem? No. So the stock might drop a lot. And that is even if the market thinks that Tesla can successfully commercialize full self-driving. Because so many Tesla investors are in Tesla stock, and this includes a lot of Wall Street too, I believe, because of Elon Musk.
You've been watching what he's doing and saying about this new pay package. He currently owns, I think, about 15% of Tesla shares. This pay package would boost it to maybe another 12%. So put it above 25%. And do what he has been asking, which is saying that he doesn't feel comfortable not only with robots, but with AI, with developing all of these things and not having some say in how that gets done. And he's basically threatened to leave without it. What do you make of it all?
Well, he's been talking about this for 2 or 3 years. And the big news from the last night's call was that he really sees Tesla as moving beyond being a car company into being, as you said, an AI company in 2 different ways. Building Optimus, the robot. That pay package he's talking about says you have to build 1 million of them for the pay package to click in. And secondly, totally autonomous driving, robotaxis with no steering wheels. And ever since he was a kid, he used to read the Isaac Asimov novels, the robot novels, when he was a young kid in South Africa with no friends sitting in the corner of the bookstore. And the whole point of those novels is you build the robots, they can turn on us. Now, it may not seem logical, but that's been ingrained in him. And he wants control of Tesla because he sees it now as a robot and AI company.
But what does Elon himself say about why he wants this compensation package and more voting control? He says, my fundamental concern with regard to how much voting control I have at Tesla is if I go and build this robot army, can I just be outed in the future? That's the only thing I'm trying to address. I really don't believe Elon that that's the only reason he's trying to address. I definitely don't believe that. But is it one of the reasons? Absolutely. Do I still have a strong influence? I don't feel comfortable building that army if I don't have a strong influence. I think the reason why he wants more control is simply because he can. He can definitely have more control. And I personally actually think it's good for Tesla shareholders if Elon Musk has more control. I don't think there's anyone at all who is as good at leading Tesla as Elon Musk. Do you think Elon doesn't know that? Of course he knows about that. So of course he is going to do what he's going to do. This makes so much sense. If Elon can have more control and more power and also be paid more at the same time, why not do it?
Do you expect that he will get it from the shareholders?
Well, the shareholders are voting in a few weeks, and you've watched some of the institutional investors and things like Glass Lewis have said, hey, don't do this. The shareholders voted last time around, as you remember, for that $50 or so billion pay package that's still being held up in fights in the Delaware courts. He's making a big campaign, both on X and then last night when he said, hey, I'm going to walk. I'm not going to put all this AI power into this company and then have it be when I can get ousted. So there's a lot of institutional investors, and they may be pushing back on this, but a lot of people invest in Tesla stock emotionally. So we'll see how the shareholders vote.
I definitely expect the compensation package to pass if you just look at this poll from Alexandra Merz. Will Elon's 2025 compensation plan pass on November 6th? Yes, voted 89.9% of the people, and 2.2% of the people voted no. The rest were, let me see, results. So there is a very small amount of people that think it is actually not going to pass, and I think even a 2.2% chance of it not passing, that's actually being too pessimistic. I would give it more than a 99% chance of it passing, because if you look at the previous compensation package for which we voted after Elon did all the work, should we pay the guy? And at this time, basically, it's sort of, you can really make a pretty good argument that it does make a lot of sense not to pay Elon, because if you can, then why not pay? This is about the past work, not about the future. And Tesla has already benefited from all of that work from Elon Musk in the past and till now. But this compensation package is about the future. So basically we are giving away something that we don't even have yet, and it's not a guarantee at all that we would even have this increase in Tesla stock price. Of course, if Elon Musk is not at Tesla, I think the chances of Tesla increasing by a lot are much lower, and Elon Musk understands this as well. So with this compensation package, I think the chances of it passing are much greater than the previous compensation package for which we voted after the judge rescinded the compensation package. So this one, I think, is an even higher likelihood, an even higher chance that it's going to pass. And for a good reason, because it's really good for us Tesla shareholders to have this passed.
Yeah, Elon himself has made the point that, hey, look at the market cap of Tesla. It's worth more than all of the other car companies combined. Good luck if this doesn't pass. Which one of those CEOs would you like to have run this company? Because it's not going to be me. And that's a pretty potent threat for shareholders who have done very well with him over the years.
Yeah, and it's a very difficult situation when you create a company that has one person who sees himself as the key man and in some ways is the key person there, especially because, as he noted himself, if he gets 25%, he can't really be pushed out unless he goes totally insane. Of course, with Elon Musk, he's always skirting that line. So I think if you're an investor, say, okay, how do we define totally insane?
I think Elon has been very intentional with not having anyone to replace him, and that of course gives him a lot more power when it comes to compensation or when it comes to remaining the CEO if he wants to, and he can make threats like this. Well, if I don't get this compensation package, then it's not going to me leading Tesla. And it's certainly a very valid threat. And of course, I personally believe that Elon is definitely the right person to lead Tesla. So it's not like I'm advocating for someone else to come and lead Tesla. No, I think Elon is the right person. But I think also on purpose, he is intentionally not developing any kind of leadership that could possibly replace him.
Yeah, and I guess how would that work? Everybody else would have to vote against him at that point if he had 25%?
Yeah, I think if he controls 75% of the stock and, some of his allies have more, it'd be very difficult. But when I joke about him saying, okay, if I become insane, there are many things that seem totally insane. Like, let's shoot up the largest rocket ship ever and have it land upright and catch it on the launch pad. Or for that matter, having autonomous robotaxis, full self-driving. Even 4 or 5 years ago, we thought that was crazy. I think a lot of us now have gotten in either to self-driving Teslas or Waymos and say, well, that's going to transform everything. And when I saw him introduce Optimus, the robot, I disagree with him. I don't think that will destroy jobs. I think it will create enough productivity. There'll be a whole new types of jobs we've never thought of. But if you put 1 million robots out there that can do things, these sound insane, but in the past 20 years, he sometimes has moved the insane to the merely late.
He is going after Sean Duffy at this point, the
yeah.
transportation secretary, calling him Sean Dummy because Duffy is talking about opening up the bidding for the SpaceX contract to ferry astronauts back and forth to the surface of the moon. It's a tough position when you're still going back and forth with the Trump administration like this.
Absolutely. He's not somebody who carefully calculates his own interests like some of the other tech CEOs around and figures out, how do I play up to the Trump administration or push back on him some? And it's not a pretty sight. It wasn't a pretty sight when he went into the Trump administration. He's not wired to be somebody who gets along and goes along in government. The day that he was pretty much ousted from the Trump administration was a Friday. A lot of things happened, and Trump brought him into the Oval Office and said, thanks for all your help, but goodbye. But the main thing that happened that day was Jared Isaacman, who had flown on some SpaceX missions, and Musk knew him, had been nominated to be NASA director. And Trump told Musk, before it became public, I'm yanking Jared Isaacman's appointment. That caused Elon Musk to really go ballistic, so to speak. And it's not because Jared Isaacman is some close personal friend. I've seen them together. They're not pals. But Jared Isaacman is a true test pilot, somebody who's flown in SpaceX vehicles, and Elon strongly believes he's needed at NASA, and Elon is not using the most diplomatic means to try to push that on the administration.
Here's one observation that I can clearly make about Elon Musk and insane things. Elon Musk has been insanely good for Tesla stock in the long term, and I believe Elon Musk staying at Tesla and getting this new compensation package, it is going to motivate him to, again, produce insane results for Tesla shareholders like me and you guys watching. And so in my stock portfolio, I remain all in Tesla stock. My name is Matt Postius, and I will see you in the next video, probably on Monday.